Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Muhi Khwaja with American Muslim Community Foundation, and today on the Muslim Philanthropy Podcast, I am excited to have on Salman Hassan from Kufi Productions. He's the co-founder and CEO and is based out of Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to the show, Salman.
Thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum to everyone.
Wa alaikum assalam. So I think first off and foremost, we have to um, acknowledge the big beautiful brother that you have known as Wadud. Good guy. He's been the one that I've known longer, and I've had the pleasure to know you as well. But Wadud is a special force of nature in the Islamic school education field, and just a generous soul, somebody who I've known to appreciate. So figured we'd start there and then jump into the rest.
Alhamdulillah. There's my yes, but the Wadud, my brother-in-law. There's the Wadud that everyone knows, and then
Yeah,
there's the Wadud that I know personally. So,
nice.
Alhamdulillah, both good, by the way, nothing bad.
Yeah.
But it's just when someone's family, you get to see different sides to the personality, right? So, Alhamdulillah. Um, very very influential, but also very kind and loving and very caring and um just all around good person, alhamdulillah. Um so yeah, blessed to have him in my life, inshallah. Alhamdulillah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Um, so in terms of Kufi Productions and you got your Kufi on, rocking it. I should have wore mine. Um, I'll maybe grab it at some point. Um, what would you say was the inspiration for the name?
That's a good question. And the way I came up with the name was it's not what most people think, like, oh, it's I saw a piece of art, or I saw the Kufi, and then instantly, became, that was the light bulb moment. But it was when you grow up in the uh uh, in the masajids, right? Going to the different masajids, right? And um you know men of all kinds, they wear the kufi, right? They wear um or in our culture we call it topi, but
Yeah.
most people, a lot of people call it kufi, right?
Hmm.
But in layman's terms, it's a hat that men wear, um either for fashion or for religious reasons or what have you. But you see the kufi as a kind of like a symbol, right? Um, and the interesting part about the kufi is that whichever culture you experience, or whichever I guess you could say country that you visit, you see a different kind of kufi, right? So the
Right.
Turkish kufi, the Pakistani kufi, the Malaysian kufi, right? Even the American kufi, right? Which is, you can say it's a cap, right? A baseball hat. That could be a
Yeah.
kufi too. Um, each represents that culture, that people, that nation. So when coming up with the name for the company, I wanted something that uh, m- represents the world, right? The humanity, the different people that exist on this earth. So I thought of the Kufi because there's different Kufis for each um, kinds of people that are on this earth, alhamdulillah. So that's how I came up with the name Kufi Productions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And tell me a little bit more. Have you always been based in Arizona?
I was born and raised in Dallas,
Okay.
and through high school and some college, and then in 2011, I moved out to Phoenix for undergrad to do my undergrad at Arizona State. So, uh, pretty much since then, I've been here. Um, and then uh, ever since here, alhamdulillah, I've been, raising a family. I live in a beautiful home, alhamdulillah, with three children, all girls. Um, and also met my wife here as well. So alhamdulillah, a lot has happened since I moved from Dallas, but um, Dallas is my first home and Phoenix is my second home. So,
Okay, right on. And for our listeners, let's kind of go through a journey of that timeline of that transition. Like, what was school like for you, whether it was like, early on or your college years, and kind of choosing your profession and identity. Tell us a little bit more about that journey.
yeah, it's an interesting journey. When people ask me what do you do? What's your background? It's always the same. The answer is the same, which is it's a mixed bag. It's um, a journey full of different stops and turns. Um, so I'll start off by saying I started off college with the intention of getting into healthcare. Um, so my college undergrad or uh, my what do you call it? My major was biomedical engineering, and the intention was to get into um, medical research, medical devices or medical research, right?
Okay.
Um, but obviously, I'm not in that track or path anymore, right? Um, so since graduation, I went into pharmaceuticals for a year. And then after that, then I worked in the medical device industry as um, a field analyst. So it's a fancy term for saying that you inspect all the devices that malfunctioned, and then you just report it to the FDA. So I've done that for about 5 years, and then decided to switch over to healthcare, and more specifically in patient advocacy and insurance. And so I worked in that field for about 3 years. And during my time, um, I wanted to do something else, more on the management track. So I decided to go back to school for master's for MBA.
Okay.
And then and my MBA was at SMU, by the way. So kind of
Oh,
back
nice.
back to Dallas, I guess, in a
Yeah.
sense. Um, and then once I completed the MBA, then I landed a consultancy job at PwC, and alhamdulillah was there for about 3 years. And during my time, um, or rather, I should say this. So it's kind of like a left brain, right brain like scenario for me because I have my analytical side that I utilize for my job and for my profession, and that's kind of what's been helping me throughout my career. But then I have my, I guess, creative side to me as
Hmm.
well, the right brain. So um so ever since I graduated, right? By the way, since graduation, I moved to LA for 2 years for my first job. So
Okay.
while being in LA, I also took photography classes because I was
Oh,
very
sweet.
yeah, because I was very interested in photography. And so I bought a camera, I took a couple of classes and courses, and I was really intrigued with how to use a camera and take pictures of different kinds at different angles, and how to edit them as well. So after dabbling to that, then I got interested on uh, short form video and videography. So dabble into that as well, and then went into video editing, right? More professionally speaking. Um, and so fast forward to now, um, I've been helping a lot of nonprofits, some small businesses as well with my photography, videography, and video editing skills.
Hmm.
And alhamdulillah, it's been, pretty interesting journey. I've been enjoying it a lot, and a lot of, companies and, organizations that have approached me for help with these creative services. Um, so so coming back to my time at PwC, um, there was there was a point where I realized that I didn't want to get too much into the corporate world, right? Because at the end of the day, you're just, doing work for somebody else in a sense. Um, there's nothing bad about it, right? A lot of people do it and they enjoy it, which is great, each to their own, but it wasn't really my cup of tea.
I hear
Um,
you.
so, um, so I decided, I wanted to do something a little bit more on the creative side, right? And do something more impactful, something that's beneficial, for humanity and, that can, really, bring a global impact, inshallah. So I decided to use all my skills and put it together and come up with Kufi Productions, which is something that, I feel that's, it's near and dear to my heart, but also I feel it's very, inshallah, going to be very impactful in many different ways. Um, so yeah, that's my journey, if from education to through my career, and then coming up with Kufu Productions and being here right now.
Excellent. Um, for taking that risk, there's always a level of risk that normal people are comfortable with. And then I think for people who are like bold entrepreneurs, it's like risk is just another day. It's like, so I feel like that's how I operate. I tend to roll big in what I hope for and dream for and want and am comfortable with doing and making those decisions to step away. Like, what was the tipping point for you to leave PwC and kind of like go on this venture? Some people may think it's like a certain amount saved or just a feeling or some sort of other substantial marker in life. But, speaking for myself, like I love photography, I love hiking, I love motorcycle riding, I love traveling, all these different hobbies, and some of them have an element of risk. And when I do them, especially motorcycle riding, and there's like a nice road I'm excited to go on, and it's curvy, and or alhamdulillah, I've like had the privilege of driving on a motorcycle through Zion National Park and like seeing Allah's beauty up close and personal in a very unique perspective way. And even though that was in 2023, it's still a memory that I hold dear and that I receive so much joy from. And I wonder what it is risk averse people, like people who tend to operate like me. I don't think everybody tends to operate like me. So when I hear other people who make that jump and take that risk, I'm always curious to see like what was it that led you to it or inspired you to it. And the last thing I'll say is like, even with starting American Muslim Community Foundation, right? Like I started in 2017. I got the organization to a point where in 2019 they were able to match my salary from American Red Cross. I left comfortably. It was a transition that I made. Sure, I didn't have health care or a 401k, but I was just on cloud nine, knowing that I could wake up every day doing something that I love and a passion project that has now turned into, over 9 years and a staff of seven and alhamdulillah, like all these accolades, but I'm curious for you, what was that like?
We'll say I kind of like you were saying, for the normal people, taking on risk is not another day, right? So for for people like you and I, taking risk is, you know, you know, a part of the course, right? Taking it's, part of the journey, and you have to be really comfortable with it, another day in the life, right? Um, you know, when it comes to inspiration and motivation, yes, this what I'm doing right now, I enjoy, and I'm motivated. If that was in of itself a motivation to actually get the work done and actually continued with it, it would be enough. But to tell you the truth, like that wasn't the only thing that really motivated me, inspired me to continue on going. And what I mean by that is, while I was at PwC before I left, um, as you know, once the Palestinian genocide started, the ethnic cleansing started, there were all these campus protests, right?
Right.
Um, and so, I saw the ones that happened in Columbia and at Yale and Harvard, um, and then it made its way to Arizona State, my alumni. Um, and so I felt compelled to go out there and participate, be part of the the protest, if you will. Um, so when I went just with the intention of just being with the group and showing and solidarity and support and what have you. But then something amazing happened, which is a friend of mine asked me to record, um, the whole protest, right? Everything that's happening on campus. So I said, sure, yeah, I'll happy to do that. And then soon after, she said, can you live stream it? So I said, okay, why not? I gave it my shot. I um, live streamed the entire, protest during the day, right? I wasn't planning to stay the entire day throughout, till midnight. But once I started live streaming everything, people started tuning in. And what I didn't happen, or what I didn't realize was happening was that as I was live streaming, it at some point became the most live stream um, or most viewed live stream for that day and night as well. And so what that told me is that people not only, kept watching the live stream that I put on, but they also like my coverage of it as well, right? They not only enjoyed how I covered um the entire event, but the way I approached individuals, the all the arrests. I was there until the last person got arrested.
Wow.
And um so then after that, or the following day, some people approached me and saying, you're really good at this. You have um, have a particular interesting way of storytelling that people like and appreciate, and we really think you should do something about it. Um, and that was also an inspiration for why I started Kufi Productions, is because it was at that moment, I realized it wasn't just something that I enjoyed and liked, but it was almost a necessity. It was something born out of a necessity that people have stories that need to be told and that isn't being told and isn't being shown on the big screen, or on people's devices, and
Right.
in everyone's homes. Um, so that's when I realized that, okay, this is something bigger than myself. This is something that I'm contributing to something that people are looking for and wanting. and and then ultimately they're looking for a platform where their voices would be heard, right? And it's nothing new to anybody that we live in a world where some people's voices are heard and some others are not, right? There's intentional suppression, oppression, um, and people's experiences are being misrepresented, right, on purpose. And so I felt like, taking risk was the risk that has to be taken to be able to, fulfill what needs to be done is it's very little in my mind, right? Um, to the normal person, it does look really big, right? Especially when you're first starting out. Um, but I'm an optimist, I'm a visionary. I see things, 5, 10 years down the line, and I see I want to see the world where people and their voices and their experiences are represented in the way that it should be.
Alhamdulillah. I'm glad that there are advocates like yourself who can make all of that possible for people who need it. Whether, lending your skill, lending your voice, your advocacy. So thank you for that.
It's my
Um,
pleasure. It's my pleasure. And honestly, um, so sorry if I'm interrupting, but I just want
no,
to
not at all.
say, while people give me credit, I can't really take all the credit, right? Because Kufi Productions is a media collective, right? So it's a group effort. It's a global problem requires a global solution, right?
Sure.
Right. So even though I started this thing, right, it's by no means, my thing, or people say, this is your baby, this is your pet project, right? And I'm like, you may see it that way, but I don't see it that way. I see this as like this is something for the ummah, right? That I want to give as a gift and my legacy, if you will, right? That
Yeah,
I want people to be able to utilize and have a platform and a space to, voice out whatever story or concern or experience that you want the world to see and know.
absolutely. Um, let's dive in a little bit more into Kufi Productions, the different programs, services, and what your hopes and dreams are.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as I said, right, we're a creative media collective, focused on amplifying the voices of the underrepresented, um, and their stories, but also the second part to that vision is supporting the storytellers in doing so, and creative experts in telling those stories, right? Uh, so as we've been going along, putting together our programs and initiatives, we've realized there are actually a lot of barriers that needs to be addressed in amplifying these stories and supporting the storytellers, right? So, before diving into the different programs and initiatives we're working on, I want to say these five, list out these five barriers and how we're addressing them, right? So, number one is the limited access to um, production resources, right? So I come from a nonprofit world, right? And I helped a lot of nonprofits in their creative needs.
Yeah,
Um, and you probably can resonate with this a little bit, which is there's a very deep gap in access to professional level production, right? And
sure.
and those kind of resources. So we want to help fill that gap in, right? So that's number one. Number
Right.
two, there's a lack of culturally informed storytellers and reporters and journalists. So, when you turn on the TV or when you turn on your phone and you're flipping through Instagram or TikTok, right? A lot of times you see stories about that maybe about yourself or the people, your people, or Muslims in general, but there's so many gaps, there's so many holes into, that level of storytelling and those experiences. So that's the second problem. That's another problem. Another problem or another barrier is like I said, the absence of a platform that, you know, elevates and platforms underrepresented voices, right? So,
Right.
um, you have the Netflixes, the Amazon Primes, the HBOs of the world, right? Um, but as we know, they often control, what is being seen, what gets seen on the big screen and
Hmm.
everyone's devices. Um, so we need more platforms that represent and tell more ethnic and Muslim stories, right? So alhamdulillah, we have Watermelon Pictures, for example.
Yeah.
We have uh, there's another one I can't think of the name right now, but alhamdulillah, we started to see this need of like having platforms, right? So Kufi Productions, we want to have a platform for these kind of stories as well. And then last but not least, difficulty. There's a difficulty with connecting audiences who want that authentic representation, right? Um, I guess it ties a little bit with the lack of culturally informed storytellers, right? Because they're not quite there yet as far as connecting with the right audiences, right? Um, so that's kind of like a two bird with one stone kind of thing. But
Yeah.
um, So that brings up the things that we're doing, right, to be able to address these barriers. So number one, we're putting together an event, which hopefully will be annual, right? So it'll be our inaugural event. We're calling it Kufi Khan, right? So it's a storytelling, it's a summit for storytellers, right? And so the idea is to bring storytellers or media experts from everyone across the spectrum, from journalists to filmmakers to fashion designers to, graphic designers, animators, anyone who's had a hand in any kind of media work to come
Hmm.
together and not only celebrate each other's works and platform them and talk about them, but also learn from each other too, right? So we intend to have a few workshops, um, a couple workshops in the summit, so that not only you're going there to network to see and have the bazaar feel and all that, but also you're learning from the experts themselves, those who've
Right.
been in the industry for 10 plus years. You get to benefit from their knowledge, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Um, so that's one, and then the second project that we're undertaking is something. Um, so we call it the Kufi Circle, and the
Okay.
idea behind that is, alhamdulillah, it's great to have all these events, but what's after that, right? What do you do with all this knowledge, and how do you um, utilize the skills that you've acquired and are able to, move forward. So that's why we have this community that we're building that, it's accessible to you 24/7 if you want. And, you have access to a library of resources, mentors, people with opportunities to work with you on projects and even get paid, right? And access to
Yeah.
funding, right? That's a huge need as well. So I would say those are the two biggest projects that we're working on, among many others as well. But those are the priority right now.
Very cool. For hopes and dreams, where do it's good to see the different programs and services and events. What are you hoping happens either through these events or say 5, 10 years into the future, where things will be?
Great question. You know, it's any entrepreneur knows this, that there's always a difference between what's reality, like what's happening on the ground, and how things shape up, and then your
Yeah.
hopes and dreams, right? Like what your vision is, right? So the constant struggle, or I guess challenge, is trying to marry the two or get the two to be the same, right?
Right.
Um, and oftentimes it's not always the same, or it's not identical, but you do your best, right? So uh the the vision, like I said, right, was, where a world where we see voices are being represented in the right way, right? So uh radical empathy, right? People, out of the goodness of the hearts, they're actually, helping to tell the stories in the right way, right? And validating their experiences, and, having dignity for these unrepresented communities, right? Around the world. Um, and then wherever there is any harmful stereotypes and biases, they're actively being challenged. And we're seeing that a little bit, alhamdulillah, but we need to see more of it, right? Um, and then, you know, uh, I would love to see where cultures and traditions and histories are being preserved properly, right? I think that's a huge one because, as you know, there's active effort happening as far as the ethnic cleansing is concerned, right? Of generations of people, right? So doing our best to preserve, their history, their stories, and so forth, and then by doing so, building bridges between people, right? Um, Unfortunately, the we live in a world where capitalism is super strong, and people are run and, influenced by the dollar, right? And the power of the dollar, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, that that the power of the dollar blinds them in, of anything that's good that came out of humanity, right? And so,
Right.
trying to shift public discourse and conversations as far as like different policies, so that we can, help build bridges, right? And we know how, the power of storytelling can even influence different policies at the political realm as well. So um so these are some of the hopes and dreams I hope to see in 5, 10 years down the line, where, we see a seismic shift, if you will, from where we are now to, a world where um, we know more about each other. That's another thing I wanted
Mhm.
to say. I feel like Muslims, even Muslims ourselves, we don't know much about each other and our experiences and who
Good.
we are, right? And so how can we expect non-Muslims or people outside of the faith to know about us, right? If we can't first understand each other and learn about each other, how can we tell our stories to the others as well, right? So that's
Yeah.
how I see it too. Um, so once we can get past that, and then everything else that I mentioned, then I think would be much better equipped to really, seeing a world, and ensuring that we have a world that's safe for our children, that they can say, you know, uh, I can play with, um, my neighbor on the street, like we used to
Yeah.
back in the day, but now it's like I'm scared for my children, because you never know.
Right. Well, if there is anything else that maybe left out that you wanted to share, what would that be?
I'll say this, as we, inshallah, as we continue to grow, um, we obviously, we need the support of people, right? In many different ways, right? Whether it's
Mhm.
through the financial means, or with your time and effort and all that, but also, we need to open our eyes to being open to establishing relationships and partnerships, even outside of what, the monetary benefits that could come out of it, right? So, you know, building partnerships with like-minded organizations and foundations is huge, right? Um, you know, it's it it's great that there are individuals who are working day and night and doing impactful things and powerful and working and putting powerful things together to impact the ummah. But I think it's better that we're there for each other to support each other. I think the baraka and the synergy that comes out of it is you can't put a dollar amount to that, right? And so
Sure.
um I think my message to everyone is like, have that mindset and to be able to offer, your services, whatever that may be, to those who, not only need it, but, could be in a form of a partnership or, some kind of, working relationship where, together we can do much more than if we were to do it separately.
Definitely. The last question. What advice do you have for people who are listening? Maybe there is somebody who is an entrepreneur trying to take that step and leap, or there's somebody who wants to be more bold in their storytelling and wants to harness their voice, um, or it's just somebody listening and wants to give back to the community. What would you share with them?
What I'll share is that, you know, storytelling is a skill that everyone needs to be good at. I mean, you don't have to make a career out of it, but at its core, storytelling and the ability to be able to, tell your story in whichever room you're in is a skill. It's an essential principle and skill to have, right? Um, whether you're presenting to your working team, right, on a project that you've been working on, or you're presenting for your dissertation for your PhD, or you're pitching to an investor, whatever the format and case may be, you're still using the skill and the art of storytelling, right? It looks different because of the different audiences that you're presenting to, but it's the same skill set. So, um, I would say that's number one. And number two, um, representation matters. It's not optional. It's essential to being able to live your life and other people living their lives with, dignity and justice and human connection, right? And so if everyone does their part, as far as making sure the representation is accurate, then I feel that would be living in a world that's much more inclusive and less stereotypical, and and it would be a space where diverse communities can really see themselves reflected with accuracy and respect, right? Um, so I would say those are the two things um, I
Good.
would impart to everyone.
Yeah. Where can people find out more about Kufi Productions?
So we have a website, kufiproductions.com. You can always go there. And when you first visit the website, there's a pop-up that says to, join the newsletter. So go ahead and do that. So subscribe to our newsletter as well. And we have social media um, uh, platforms, right, that you can follow. So LinkedIn, um, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube as well. Um, Also, I don't know if people know this, but uh, we do have a podcast called The Treaded Path. Um, that you know, we interview Muslim professionals across all the diverse industries, right? And outlining their journey, but also talk about accountability with respect to their line of work, right? How they address accountability, and then you know, have them give advice to those who want to tread their path as well, right? Um, because right now, the way the socioeconomic status is, it's pretty pretty tough for a lot of job seekers out there right now. So the more resources and mentors we can provide to them, the better I think they'll be equipped to, finding their next job or their next role or what have you. So if you could, it'd be great. I would very much appreciate if you follow all our social media. Um, and you can learn a lot about Kufi Productions and what we do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Salman. This has been a fantastic conversation and looking forward to having more of AMCF's network learn about Kufi Productions. So thank you for taking time to being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Inshallah. Make dua for us.
Always.
Jazakallah khair.
Oh, yeah.